Live from the apocalypse, this is State of the Game. I am back and crispy, your narrator, Dan O. I just came from California visiting my relatives in Long Beach and LA. It was lovely. And I miss the breakfast burritos and the green sauce already. Green sauce. My co-host, the Mahmoud Abdul Rauf of the hip hop blogosphere, is K Diggy. Thank you for being here. He stops and pops. So we got a guest. I thought of this topic. It was in my head, and there's only two people that can do this with us, and we got one of them. The other's dealing with family stuff. Shout out to Stick Figure. We will definitely have Stick Figure on. Fun guest. But our guest today came up on sugar, water, and mayonnaise sandwiches.
Yeah.
No longer. It did a very difficult thing, Kay, in the world of hip hop. Went from a spitter to an artist. That shit is hard. That shit is hard. And not just that, but is also one of my favorite bloggers. It's not bloggers, fucking podcasters in the world. With Sean Kantrowitz, who's also been on the show. Making Illmatic, which is such a good idea. I told you, Kay, first time I heard it, I was like, I'm so pissed that I'm not on this already. It's beautiful. So thank you, Midaz the Beast, for being here.
Yeah.
No, it's and you released a new project.
Yeah.
You released a new project called The Devil's Playground, and which is very different from everything you've done. That's been the story of you for the past few years. Right.
Yeah. The last few years has been a bunch of stuff that's every joint's different. Every joint's different. I'm trying to give different looks.
Yeah. And Kay, I don't know if you heard 8487.
Right. It's very different from 8487.
8487. Okay.
8487 was on every playlist I made last year. Because there was so much seriousness. There was so much backwoods energy, like a Kai solo kind of energy that I was like, ooh, I'm gonna throw some 8487 in here. We can feel the mink coat drag on the floor. I need some of that. It was just a beautiful shift in energy. Little songs that kind of built a story. Just a beautiful little project. Project. So, and this is totally different.
Completely. Whole different look. I was telling people, if you I'm trying to get it to where my sound is mine. You know what I mean? Like, I want people to be able to go, yeah, I gotta go over there to, like, all this, like, there's a circle of different things, and like Midaz could touch all those things and they sound authentically Midaz. You know what I'm saying? Like, it don't sound like playing in different, in different sandboxes. This is the Midaz sandbox. It don't sound like Midaz, but it don't sound like the last shit.
It's like what Dan and I say. It's like, what does this artist provide that no other artist in the world can provide?
That's it.
So what do you think that you provide that no one else provides?
I like to think that I have a unique combination of ear, perspective, and honestly, man, I think I'm in this age, in this time of where we are right now, like, I feel like I'm a breath of fresh air in the sense that, like, there's a lot of, like, the lane kind of opened up, right? So Rock Marcy comes back out, and all right, boom, there's this underground renaissance now, right? Type of thing. And what, in my opinion, what ended up happening was we got a bunch of fake ass Rock Marcy's, right? And like, shout out to the god Rock Marcy. Rock is amazing. Like Rock is one of my favorite MCs of all time. If you little known, if you go on YouTube and type in Midaz interviews Rock Marcy, there's an interview that I did with Rock Marcy in like 08, 09.
Wow.
You know, type Steve, because I'm a huge fan, right? But I think a lot of these cats don't understand what makes rock ill. You know what I'm saying? They just take the surface level of the illness of Rock Mars to make they shit, right? Okay, underground beats, check. Okay, rhyme about fly shit, check. Okay, and then like, boom, I got an album, and it's like, yeah, I think y'all are missing the point of like what makes this guy ill, you know? And I think for me, like, I had a rap experience, bro. Like my hip hop experience is what makes me different. I grew up different. My introduction into hip hop was different. My education was different. You know, my experiences. Like I'm 38. I was around for the Clue Tape era and the doo wop era and the eras that came after that. I was outside battling niggas. I was outside, you know. I was rhyming in high school. You know, when I was in high school, when I was in middle school. Let's take it all the way back. I was the only kid that rhymed in my middle school. There was nobody else that rhymed. I was rhyming in middle school. That was an anomaly. There wasn't nobody that rhymed in middle school. When I went to high school, I was one of like 5 people that rhymed. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't one of those things where like, you know, there was a lot of MCs. And then there was a huge rush of MCs, and it was like, wow, wild west. Like, oh, you see this motherfucker on the other end of the mall, and you pulling out your 6 shooters. You know, and I've been in that era of being ran up on and battled. I did all the open mics. I did all the shows. I've been on tours. You know what I'm saying? I did all that and had that experience. I opened for major artists. I rhymed in ciphers with some of the biggest artists you ever had and or that's out and held my ground and built my, you know, everything that I did was an experience that taught me just taught me just a little bit more. So, you know, I think what I bring is just a unique perspective, you know, to rhyming, to creating music. You know, I hear music different. I know I do. You know what I'm saying? So I'm a rhymer who hears music like an executive producer. You know what I'm saying? That's how you get a project like The Devil's Playground or 84, 87 of these curated projects. Like I curate like West Side Gun do, but I rhyme like Conway. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the crazy set of circumstances.
Yeah, no, I would have had a much simpler answer. Okay, I would have just said where the sidewalk ends. Like when Midaz put out Where the Sidewalk Ends, also produced by Delle Digga, who did The Devil's Playground.
Yeah,
that was in 2020. That was really just for me and where I was. That was when everyone stood up and was like, "Oh shit, what?" Like nobody was doing that. Nobody was doing a rap album themed around Where the Sidewalk Ends.
yeah.
And no one was able to make that their theme without warping their style completely to it. And Midaz was able to just make it his own. And the cover is beautiful and really resembles where he was at. It's from that project on, that felt like you coming into your full own as an artist.
Yeah. You know, what I would say to that is, you know, I had the vision to make a project like Where the Sidewalk Ends for years. if you go to me, you know, a lot of people, and you're not the first, a lot of people mark where the sidewalk ends as kind of like the, all right, we see what's going on here type of scenario.
Right.
For me, that project is Loops 2, which was, what year was Loops 2? 2018? 2015, I think it was.
Okay.
2015. Yeah, I think it was 2015.
2016, December
2016.
16th, 2016. Yeah.
Yeah. So Loops 2 was really that project for me. And the reason why was because, you know, I was already like Loops 2 has the sound of Sidewalk already. It just doesn't have the perfection, I guess you could say, of production because I ain't no fucking producer. And I did all the music on Loops 2. So like all I could do is loop shit up and rhyme on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, but what I was wanting to do is like what I would have loved is if like I would have looped them shits up and then like because I wasn't working with Delle at the time, but I would have wanted to have like looped them shits up and given them to a producer who was like, all right, take this fucking idea and make it like what I'm actually trying to
polish it up, right?
Yeah, because like Loops 2 didn't have the ideas in full realization because I couldn't do it. You know what I mean? I didn't know how to do it. So like I just looped it and rhymed over it because that's all I knew how to do. But that if you go back to that project, the sound is there, the foundation is there. You know what I'm saying? And Sidewalk, how Sidewalk even exists is a conversation that me and Delle had early in the process where it was like, all right, you see what I did right here? Like, I need a produced version of this.
Right.
So you were proud of the ideas on Loop 2. You just didn't have the technical expertise to fully realize the vision that you had.
Oh yeah. 100%. That because the ideas were there. I mean, and to keep it a super buck, I had the ideas before that. You know what I mean? It's like I just needed I needed the right conduit, you know, the right partner to who heard the same thing I was hearing. Right. So like I've worked with several producers through the years and I still work with a lot of them. My man, I Make Mad Beats, Fast Shout, my man Zarism, Fast Shout, my man Sharp, Fast Shout. I work with the same crop of producers always, you know what I mean? Like that's how I get down, more or less. But with Delle, we were able to find I would almost say like it honestly is almost like a spiritual connection. It's almost like when he hears a sample, he hear it the way I hear it.
Yep.
Oh man.
And that's how we get these really synergized things because he's curating for my taste. You know what I'm saying? And when I'm hearing it, I'm like, this is exactly what I would have done if I would have heard this sample and I knew how to make a fucking beat. You know what I'm saying? Like
I was watching the video. I was watching the video for Gore-Tex, and I was like, damn, Delle knows how to make the sample the hook in a way where you're like, that's not a cheat. That needed to be the hook.
Yeah, the thing that Delle and I have in common is the way we feel music. I feel music a certain way. I hear music a certain way. And he hears and feels music a certain way. And you know, even between us, I mean, it's like, you know, them shits that's like it's a circle and then it's a circle and they overlap a little bit.
Venn diagram.
Yeah, the Venn diagram. Where our Venn diagram connects, like that middle spot where because he likes shit over here and then I like shit over here, but our little connection spot is ill. You know what I'm saying? It's ill. It's what creates these projects. But again, the impetus for those things is really, you can hear it. It's in, honestly, if you were to do the knowledge and go back, like the seeds were planted in other projects. It was just like I might have found somebody who could give me one beat that's in that vibe.
Yep.
But then getting with Delle, we going all the way there. You know what I mean? Like we going all the way there with this energy and shit. So
yep.
Yeah, so I credit him a lot with being able to, when honestly, he was in the beginning of me and Delle getting together. I like to say I produced him. You know what I mean? I produced him. In turn, we're in a space where now he's producing me. You know what I'm saying? Because I had to kind of build his confidence up and shape and mold him to what I was trying to do. And then once he got it, he took it and he ran with it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a big trust between us. Like we had to trust. He had to trust me. I think every producer that I've worked with, I know, because I know what I'm trying to do. I can be real pushy towards like, yo, this is what we're doing. This is what I'm trying to do. This is where I'm trying to go. And the producer has to trust me. Like, trust me. I know what I'm doing. I know what I see. And me and Delle was talking the other day. It was a really interesting conversation because what I was telling him was, he actually called me and was like, yo, I'm listening to The Devil's Playground now that it's out, and it's like I'm hearing it for the first time. This was like a day or two ago. And I'm like, and he's like, how does it feel to you? Like, are you hearing it for the first time? And I'm like, nah, because I heard it this way before I wrote it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I knew what it was going to sound like when we started working on it. And, when I was recording these joints and I'm hearing just the demo version before any mixes, before any moving around of things and editing, I already knew what it was going to sound like. So it doesn't sound new to me. It sounds like what it sounded like when I first heard the fucking beat you sent through. You know what I'm saying? Because once I hear shit, like I be having the vision for that shit. Like, all right, this is what it's going to sound like when it's finished. And for him, it wasn't. He was, he's got to remove from it a little bit and kind of come back to it. And he's like, holy shit. I think Devil's Playground, just right quick, for him, I think I could be speaking for him. I hate to speak for him, but I think he appreciates it more now than when we were working on it. I think he was probably more annoyed with it while we were working on it. But now he's like, holy shit, this is really good. I'm like, I fucking told you, bro. It's really good.
Is my shorthand of evil salsa music a fair thing?
You know what? I might can rock with that. Evil salsa music. Well, I mean, honestly, it's because there's always going to, shout out to Delle, he's in Uruguay. He's Latin tinged, the Where the Sidewalk Ends, 84, 87, and Sidewalk, and Playground all have a little bit of a Latin influence to them. So
yeah. And this, I wrote in the write-up that it felt like the kind of energy and animosity of like Army of the Pharaohs over this kind of distorted, dark side of the Fania music, and that's how it feels to me. This is an album that knows it's called Devil's Playground, which is cool. Like, there's so many projects now that are like haphazardly named, or songs that are haphazardly named, right? Just off the coolest line of the thing. Yeah. This knows Devil is referenced continually. Devil's Playground is referenced continually. It's just, and there was something about it where I was like, the first time I listened to it, I was like, oh, he knew this. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah. I mean, I take album covers real serious, and I take album titles real serious. And if you're a listener of Making Nomadic, like, I take albums seriously. Like, I take track orders, and I'm real crazy about, all right, the first thing that you hear when you turn on an album is really important. The last thing that you hear when the album goes off is really important. I'm real crazy about like the purpose of the second and third track, and like the purpose of the penultimate and track before that. Like I just there's a to me like putting together an album, and it's one of the things that me and Delle kind of like, you know, we clash about is because I get real crazy about like nah, bro, that's the third track. It's got to be the third track. It has to. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you know, I go back to my education as far as listening to albums growing up, and like honestly, like the way again, the way I would listen to an album, right? So like it's shaped by circumstances and experiences, right? So like I came up in my formative years are in the CD era, right? So so like I remember I would read track listings from start to like from intro to outro, like they always went like this. They always went like that. And and like so now, like when I put an album together, I see the tracks like that. Like I see them
vertically.
If you remember Muddy Water, Redman's Muddy Water.
Yep.
The way that track listing was on the CD, like on the back of the CD, like that's how I see like all track listings. Like they read that way. So I'm always crazy about like, you know, what's the first song, what's the last song, what's the first thing you hear, how does I remember listening to Muddy Waters, and you had your little bye 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 bye, and it kind of set the mood, and then and I was like, oh shit, like yo, this shit just so like I've always felt like an album should start, I always wanted my albums to start with the thesis statement, and then you know what I mean? Now we here, and now we're gonna go like this until we out.
Yeah, so that I'd like that. So what was, when you were creating the album, what was the thesis statement that you were going with?
Yeah, so all right, so to properly tell the thesis statement, I'll need to reference the thesis statement for Sidewalk, which where the Sidewalk ends was about it was two things. It was the idea of the album was short stories, right? I told Delle I didn't want to do songs. I wanted to do what I call moments, right? Like if it were me, I wouldn't even name these shits. It would just be like October 11th, 2:30 p.m.
Damn.
Like every song would just be the date because it's just that moment in time captured in audio to me.
Bro.
You know what I'm saying? It's not so much. I'm not really out here trying to make records like that. Like I'm just in my head, I'm capturing moments in time, and then we putting it out. And I liken that to like short stories from like a short stories book. You know what I'm saying? Like Where the Sidewalk Ends. Or poetry books. So like I was really into like those when I was a kid, those books like that, just books of like fables and short stories and nursery rhymes and all that shit. Like I had this super big ass fucking nursery rhyme book back when I was a kid that had like 300 nursery rhymes in it and shit. And I always thought that was just even like scary stories, the scary stories.
Oh shit, those are huge.
Like but like the story would be contained in one page.
Yep.
With or maybe 2 pages, but with a little ill artwork to go with it, right? So like I always thought that was an ill way to tell stories, which was just in a short, kind of in and out sort of fashion. So I wanted to kind of bring that to music. So Where the Sidewalk Ends became a series of short stories, and that's why I named it that way. The thesis statement for it was that right when you turn on the album, you hear the girl telling the story on Where the Sidewalk Ends, and then it goes, forgot about it, nigga, huh? Like that's the thesis statement to me, right? Forgot about it, nigga, huh? You know what I'm saying? Because at the time, and shout out to the thought process of, that was kind of like the, oh shit, let me pay attention. Like to me, you know, I'm one of them motherfuckers with a chip on their shoulder. So I feel always forgotten and disrespected and not paid attention to. You know what I'm saying? So like,
yep.
I felt like with this album, I had with Sidewalk, I had to let it be known, like, hey, by the way, I'm still out here. Like, yeah, a lot of new motherfuckers came out, but don't forget about me. Like, I'm still out here, right? So Devil's Playground is an evolution of that idea in the sense of it's still short stories, you know what I'm saying? But where Sidewalk, I felt was more like in the clouds. Like Sidewalk had a real like a cloudy air to it. I felt.
Yep.
Devil's Playground is in the dungeons. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, all right, we did the Shrek movie where they get married, like, you know, but like now we're gonna go visit the dragon.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and where he hang out at. It's all in the same movie, but it's different parts of that movie. Like, oh, you forgot about your uncle that's locked in the cellar? Like, let's go see that nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's Devil's Playground. That's the uncle that's locked in the cellar. So like the thesis statement for Devil's Playground for me was really just the idea of, all right, I wrote it under the thought process of like boredom. The concept of boredom is one that we're losing on an everyday basis because we have all these devices, we got social media. So like nobody's ever bored. You're always doing something, right?
Right.
But like all the illest ideas came from boredom. Like all the ill ideas, all the inventions throughout history, they come from like somebody fucking sitting on a tree stump and like looking into the fucking air like for 3 hours and being like, yo, you know what would be cool if, you know, whatever. So
Yep.
like, you know, because of my circumstance at the time, I had nothing but free time. And I was just like, I wasn't doing nothing. And then all these real wild ideas for these songs, you know, came about. So like to me, and that's why I named it the Devil's Playground, because an idle mind is the Devil's Playground. And at the time I had an idle mind. These are the interesting things that I'll think about when I don't got nothing else to think about. You know what I mean? And that's kind of where it came from.
Whew. No, that's great. Kay, how did you feel about the sequencing? For me, this is an album that gets 15 to 20% better every time I listen to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean,
when I first heard it, I was like, "Oh, this is cool," and now I'm like, "Oh," I'm catching.
Yeah.
The second time, like the first time listening, I didn't quite get. It was difficult for me to grasp it. You know what I mean? But then the second time, like you said, it got a little bit better. And do you think that was by design, or was like, did you intend for this album to be like a multiple listen before you understood it, or like?
Yeah, I intend for all my albums to be multiple listens. Like I come from that angle. That's why the songs are so short. The songs are short because I pack a lot. We pack a lot into them joints, and it's like,
yeah,
I know if we pack as much as we pack into joints into 3 and 4 minute joints, and you had a whole album of 3 and 4 minute joints, that's an overwhelming listen for people to deal with. You know what I mean? Like, so I stuck with the Jizza thought process, right? Too many songs, weak rhymes is mad long. Make them brief, son. We say twice short, half short and twice strong.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So go hard body, and then like in the logic of like, it's gonna make you want to run it back. You know? Like I get so many messages and DMs and shit, and people be like, bro, I really love this song, but it's too short. I'm like, run it back.
Run it back.
Give that shit another Spotify spin, my guy. You know what I mean? Like run it back. Yeah. But the idea for that is like, it's not, you know, when when you say like, was it done on purpose? Nah, it's not done on purpose per se, but like, if you think about like MF Doom, and like you gotta run them. He's saying so much, bro. Like you're not gonna catch everything in the first listen. You know what I'm saying? Like it's impossible. I mean, I'm still catching Doom lines, right? Like I'm still listening to random songs and being like, oh, I'm just catching this. Like, and I've heard this song 100 times. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I feel like I write the same in the same type of way where, you know, you still gonna be picking up lines on the 8th, 9th, 10th listen, you know, randomly. And then similarly, I feel like Delle produces in a way where you're still catching elements later. One of the things that I love about when people are listening to these albums, and this one in particular, is like I feel like people listen to stuff that's not overly drummy, and then they just think it's very simple. Like, okay, he just loops up a thing, and then that's it. And then like that's like Delle's production is really dynamic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things happening. You know, there's a lot, and between the a lot that's happening on the production side and then the a lot that's happening in the raps, and then the a lot that's happening from the explosion of those two things together, I just feel like it's got to be multiple listens or you won't get it.
Right. I mean, you're getting percussion sometimes from a sample. You're catching congas, you're catching stuff like that. So yeah, there's a lot happening, but I can't imagine this album not ending with Voices. Voices is really impressive to me.
So I'll tell you right quick, it wasn't supposed to be the last song. And listen, and if I had my druggers, it wouldn't be. First of all, in its current as presented, as you guys have it, it absolutely had to be the last song.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
But there was a record that we did. What was the name of the record? It's called Not Done. And I was gonna have Voices as the penultimate, and then Not Done was gonna end the record. And me and Delle couldn't get eye to eye on Not Done, on Not Done being done. Like we couldn't finish Not Done in a way that satisfied him and satisfied me. So we ended up not using Not Done. I still think Not Done is gonna come out on something, but so once we pulled away Not Done, Voices had to be it. But I'm sorry to cut you off on that. Go ahead.
No, it's cool. I mean, it's good information. Like there's so much. What is so cool about Midaz as a short story writer is that he's one of those people where the voice has to match the project, right? So on 84, 87, he's very cool, you know, and there's a lot of like, there's a lot of confidence in the tone. In this, there's a lot of grit.
Yeah.
There's a lot of grit, which is why I was thinking of Vinny Paz. I was just like, there's a lot of like Paz feel to the grit in the voice, and Voices is so hushed, and it's terrifying because it's hushed.
It
feels like the quiet threat you give to your kid when they get you mad or whatever. You're hoping that the other parent can't hear or whatever the fuck you and that's Voices has that feel to it, and it's just perfect. It is a perfect way, I think, to sing.
Voices to me sounds like a so I'm real visual with a lot of this stuff. So like when I say visual, like when I sit down and write some of this stuff, like I'll listen to the beat, and like the beat, like the best songs that I write, the beat will give me a picture, and then it makes it really easy to write the rap because I have this image in my head of like something. And Voices reminded me, it's mad random, but Voices, the instrumental, when I first heard it, reminded me of, I was like, bro, this sounds like it should have been like the backing music for a scene in fucking Eve's Bayou. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
or like this could have been the backing music for like a fucked up scene in The Color Purple. You know what I mean? Like that's what I was hearing when I heard it. Like it just sounds like a slow motion ass, like the scene when she's fucking cutting Mister's beard in Color Purple. Like the tension in that scene, the tension of like how her hand is shaking and she, you know, this and he's looking real crazy. Like I'm hearing, and it's just like that's so now I'm like, all right. And the thing is, I'm never trying to like, you know, I might see that scene or like for the Eve's Bayou energy, like it's because I saw like the dark, like the Bayou darkness, like that. Eve's Bayou was a real dark movie, like as far as just the lighting, like it was just dark. You know what I mean? Like there was a lot of dark and like there was a lot of like reds and shit like that. Like I kind of saw it like that. Like yeah, like this seemed like some old like, you know, low moonlight water, like, you know, type of energy. So then what I try to do is write to that scene. Like, all right, let me just match that mood. I don't want to take away from the mood. I want to sit in that mood. I want to match the mood. I feel like a lot of times with artists, you fight the mood that's sitting right there in a platter. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's right here. Like you don't got to fight it. Let's live with it. You know what I'm saying? So I think with voices, it was just trying to match the picture.
That's perfect. Good, perfect description.
Like
Kay,
that.
we talked a little bit ago, Kay, because and we were talking about Concept Jackson. I had just finished Raekwon's book, and I was like, when you listen,
I haven't read it yet. I can't wait. By the way, I'm excited.
It's amazing, and when you listen to Concept Jackson, you can feel that there's a post Raekwon effect. Raekwon was important to Concept the way he was important to you, in sense that, and I was glad the Concept has a song with Raekwon, which makes sense. That Raekwon describes in the book that him and Ghost, when they were writing together, they really talked about cutting down what was in the song, cutting out the unnecessary explanative parts of it, right? If you think about rap used to the verses used to be kind of slow moving, right? It's like, I'm DMC in the place to be, and here's where I went to college. And, you know, it was a slow moving affair. And they were like, no, we're cutting it out. We're cutting all the unnecessary fat out and we're moving. And that's how you write. You know, where Lazarus Pit is my favorite song on here.
I like to hear that, by the way, because I love Lazarus Pit. Yeah.
But I don't know if I could explain why. It's just that when the images are cut together in this way, that's the prettiest picture to me.
Yeah, I love Last Pit. So here's what's ill, right? I always feel like in every great album there are seminal tracks. This is like my romance idea of albums. No, motherfuckers probably never even thought about this shit, but in my romantic brain, this is how it's thought about. In the creation of every album, that's every great album, there's like a song or two that's like, when you do that song, you're like, oh, I know what we're doing here. Like, I get what's happening. Like I get the sound of this album. You know what I'm saying? So like, I would like to feel like, you know, when D'Angelo was doing Voodoo, you know what I'm saying? Like they were jamming and they fucking did the instrumental for, you know, I don't know, one of them shits, right? One More Again, right?
Right.
They do one more again in the fucking session, and then like I like to feel like a light goes off in everybody's head, like, oh shit.
Yep.
Like And it don't always got to be the best song on the album or the single or nothing. It's just you do a joint and then something in that just goes, oh shit, oh. I fucking know what we're doing for this album now. Like I know where we're going. I know what we're trying to do. Like it just kind of all unfolds in front of you.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? That happened to us when we were doing Sidewalk. When we did Sidewalk, what's the joint, man? Hold on. I have to tell you this.
Do it.
And I'm gonna fuck it up. I don't remember the track list well enough. So let me just look it up right quick.
Yeah. So you're talking about you have that one track that you build the whole album around. Once you recognize it, you know.
Yeah, sorry. 5 years. So on Sidewalk, 5 years. When we did 5 years, it was like hold on. Like honestly, we did 5 years and went back and almost redid the whole album after that.
Yeah.
We had like 10 songs that we thought were the album. And then we did 5 years and it's like, nah, this is what we doing. And these shits don't sound like this. So fuck them joints. We starting from here. You know what I'm saying? And we were already deep into the project. Like 5 years was kind of like, honestly, now that I'm looking at the track list, once we did 5 years, yeah, the only thing that stuck around other than that was already kind of done, yeah, none of that shit. So, you know, 5 years to really define the record, and we kind of made it from there. With Devil's Playground, when we did, you know, so I had the album title before we really started working on the album. Like I knew I was gonna call it The Devil's Playground, and I knew what I wanted it to sound like. I wanted it to sound. I told Delle I want to do the whole next album sounding like Midnight Society on Where the Sidewalk Is, which was the last song. So I wanted the next album to sound I wanted it to be the same energy of the last. I wanted every song to sound like Midnight Society, is what I told him. You know, and when we started doing records, and there's a lot of songs. We did a lot of songs. We did a lot of 84, 87 in the same sessions. You know what I'm saying? So we were doing all at the same time. And when he sent me the beat for Last Pit, I was like, this is what I'm fucking talking about. Like this is what I was talking about. Like this is what I want to do for this whole shit. So Last Pit really set the course. It really set the direction for the record.
No, that's a concept we've talked about, Kay, where like when I was in the poetry scene, my dude Will Gibson would be like, that line, that's what the whole poem is. That's the whole poem. It's in the line. And it was a concept that started to make sense to me. We're like, oh, the album grows out of that song. And that's okay. That's a real thing.
And what's interesting is that it's like, to that point, it's not a featured. Theoretically, it's not a featured record on the album in the sense of like it's not the first song, it's not the last song. You know what I mean? It's just in there, but it's an important record.
Yeah. So Kay, we are talking about templates, right? That's the subject here. We're talking about people that had such a seismic effect that you see their effect like rippling through, right? The history of the genre of music today. And I just started me just thinking about Biz Markie, right? That in the Raekwon book, and I don't want to spoil too much of the Raekwon book, but he says they knew what to do with ODB because of Biz Markie. And I was like, oh shit. Because I remembered a Nori interview where Nori said, I wanted to be Biz with a gun.
Yeah.
And Biz
and every Nori and every Drink Champs, when he does this person or that person, he always does Biz or ODB.
Right. Yeah. Now, and so I guess for templates, what I would do is we'll say who it is, and then we'll say what we think was borrowed from them, right? In terms of Biz, what was borrowed from Biz was you could say the humor, right? Lots of people have done humor. Lots of people do humor that makes them look cool, right? Biz was able to be outlandish and outrageous in ways that didn't always make him look cool.
Right.
And that was cool because he was the only one doing it.
But wait, before we get into this, how do you define template? Just give like the listener a definition of template. Like, how would you guys define what you consider to be templates?
Template it means like if you're building your own character in a fight game, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to build off of a raw template. You're going to design yourself, but you're going to design yourself on top of an existing character, right?
Okay.
So that's kind of what a lot of people are doing. We talked about hybrid templates in the breakdown, where I think Nikki is a hybrid of Missy Elliott and Buster. That's kind of what DNA is of Nikki.
Like that.
And we can talk about how everyone thinks that every female rapper goes back to Little Kim, but I don't think a lot of them do. But I think it's Missy and Busta. And what I made the argument that like, but that's not biting because you're creating something new by mixing those two.
Yeah.
That's a hybrid. Yeah.
You should, to me, I mean, what the God Nasir say? He said, no idea is original, right? So like,
right.
So you if you're an astute listener, you probably can hear the you could probably hear the tree of lineage in a couple different artists, prominent ones, and kind of where they at least sometimes it's really original, but at least where they got some influence from, you can usually hear it. And then some, it's literally like, oh, this is the father of this guy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like sometimes it's that deep, but nah, I'm with that. I would agree. I love I've talked about this concept before, even in the idea of like, you don't get Ludacris if you don't have Redman. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
right.
To me, that's just a 1-2. Like, all right, he came and then he came. If he didn't come, he don't come. You know what I'm saying? And similar to like G-Rap. Like G-Rap's got 30 babies. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
There's 30 rappers that wouldn't exist if G-Rap didn't exist.
Totally. And the thing is, Kay, the cool thing about a hybrid template is that that's someone who, like, the babies of them don't always stay them, right? Nikki doesn't still sound like a combination of those two. That's how she started, right?
Right. Now she sounds like her.
Bronson started like loving Cool G rap and kind of moving that through a Ghostface flow, and that's not where he is now. So that's cool. It's cool to watch people develop. And when we say someone came from that template, we're not saying that they stood there just copying them and have always been copying them. They're obviously growing and grow out of that. We all have our inspirations and move through those.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? So, yeah. So I can go first and just say, aside from Biz was the example, right? The Hall of Fame. But I have to say, as my first official pick, it's Slick Rick. I think Slick Rick is critical to understand if you're going to understand hip hop. And there's two things that I think people took from Slick Rick, right, to build themselves, right? The first is obviously the storytelling. Anybody who's listened to Slick Rick knows the storytelling is great. The example I always use, Kay, because everybody loves Children's Story. Everybody talks. It's an amazing record. But Moment of Truth. There's a fucking line on there There's a series of bars where he's talking about going to work and he's putting Visine in his eyes so that people can't tell he's fucked up at work. And in the 80s, people weren't digging like that. They weren't. There was a lot of surface level rapping. It wasn't, the stories weren't that detailed. The detail of the storytelling, Slick Rick inspired a generation. The second thing is poise, right? Poise. If you listen to The Ruler's Back by Slick Rick, it's so calm. It's so funny and fun to listen to. Like, there was a lot of stressed out deliveries. There was a lot of KRS-One's like bunched up energy. I'm here to be the best. And Slick Rick was laughing at all. And you could feel how cool he was next to everyone else. That's something to think that poise. So that's where
I co-sign a Slick Rick take. I mean, the other thing about Slick Rick that can't be missed when you're talking about just the template is Slick Rick changed what a rapper looked like too. And like,
yes,
rappers didn't really look like Slick Rick until Slick Rick. You know what I'm saying? He took street fashion to a different level. You know what I'm saying? And now you have this rapper template, for lack of a better word, of like what a rapper looks like. And for a little while, what a rapper looked like was Slick Rick. You know what I'm saying? For a stretch. You know, really until you get to Snoop Dogg, you know, a rapper looks like Slick Rick. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that, you know, it got mad chains on. You know, they got gold teeth. Like Rick was the architect of that.
And to follow your point, Midaz, like the first time because I learned about Slick Rick from Snoop. Because
from the Lottie Dottie remake.
Yeah, he does the Lottie Dottie version and he shouts out Slick Rick. And I was like, now I got to find out who this is. And that really got me researching. And so, yeah, it did really go like, you know, Snoop set that next pace, you know.
Funny note, Children's Story is a top 3 hip-hop beat of all time for me.
Oof, great. Yep. I love it. There was a time when the guy who ran my whole platoon got the platoon in formation and said, somebody stole my Great Adventures of Slick Rick CD, and I'm going to find out who you are. And I said, hey, you know, Sarge, you know it wasn't me. And he says, Dan, I know it wasn't you. I know you have it. And I was the only one that was beyond suspicion. That was a funny deal. So, Midaz, do you want to go next? Do you have a template?
I mean, I'll just stick with G-Rap. I think G-Rap has to be. I mean, from G-Rap you get pun. Obviously, I think that's the obvious is pun. But to be, you know, to me, you don't get Raekwon without G-Rap. You know what I'm saying? So like, and then what's super ill about G-Rap is that, you know, now Raekwon has a tree of people that come under the Raekwon umbrella, right? But the Raekwon umbrella over it has the G-Rap umbrella.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And that's like G-Rap's the grandfather of a lot of motherfuckers. Like to me, you know, you don't get Planet Asia without Raekwon. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't get that style, you know what I'm saying, without Raekwon. But the grandfather, if you were to go back, that's G-Rap. You know, G-Rap with the multi-syllables, with the run-ons. You know, G-Rap was the first motherfucker that I ever heard that made everything rhyme. He was rhyming whole sentences. You know, whole sentence would rhyme with the whole next sentence, like wild shit. You know what I'm saying? Like G-Rap is one of the great rhymers. Like everything rhymes. You know what I'm saying? Like everything rhymes. To this day, I heard some new shit that he did with Alchemist the other day. I was like, this motherfucker is like 60, and he will out rap you, motherfuckers. Like, you know, and it's just that ability to rapid fire the multi-syllables, and then Pun took that and, you know, took it to an evolution. I thought Pun was more of a direct, like Pun was literally doing the G-Rap style. Like he was just, I don't think he changed it much. I don't think he moved it much. He just put it in a different voice and, you know, whatever. But he was literally doing the G-Rap style. To your point, I think Raekwon had multiple influences,
right,
with G-Rap being one of them, and was able to use parts of him to create his own little Frankenstein monster. And now he's got a style that's kind of all his own, but from these influences. And you know, from Raekwon, you get a whole host. I mean, there's so many little baby Raekwons in the current underground.
Yep.
And that's just a testament to me. That's a testament all the way back to G-Rap. So that's where I would go.
I love
So
it.
what separates using a template to just copying it?
Yeah, I mean, I would say like knowingly or unknowingly, in my opinion, like Pun basically copied the G-Rap rap style. Like that's the same rap style. You know what I'm saying? Like you could feature G-Rap on any of those Pun records on Capital Punishment, and like it would just be like it would be just seamless from one verse to the next. Now, at the same time, is it copying? Is it biting? Nah, it's you know, I think it's more paying homage to, you know, a style that you heard and really liked. And plus, you know, what G-Rap was doing wasn't it was copyable. Like it was copyable. You know,
Yes,
like
that's a key. That's a key.
it could be done.
Yeah. There are some people who are brilliant but are never copied because it's hard to replicate.
Yeah, you can't like you can't sound like Rakim, bro. And what's crazy about that is you would think you could. Like Rakim doesn't really do, like Rakim's not really doing anything that you feel like if you didn't sit, like if you wanted to copy it, you feel like you could copy it, but you can't. You can't. Right. Like, and that's why like Nas don't sound like Rakim, bro. Like
no,
you know, none of those second comings of Rakim motherfuckers sound like Rakim. You know saying like they said Nas was the second coming, he don't sound like Rakim. They said Cannabis was the next coming, he don't sound like Rakim. Like Rakim sound like Rakim, and it's I don't know what makes the difference between those. Yeah. But G-Rap style was copyable in the sense that like if you could copyable in the sense of if you could come up with them ill multi-syllable shit, you could do it. You know what I'm saying? Like
as in like a technical. So yeah, G-Rap was technically, from a technical standpoint, if you got if you understood what he was doing technically, you could copy that. 100%. But with someone like Rakim, you can't. It goes beyond that.
Because what Kim was doing, what Rakim was doing technically, a lot of people don't even understand what he was doing technically.
Right.
Because it's not so obvious. You know what I'm saying? Like G-Rap's technical ability. So this ties back into what I'm doing on the Devil's Playground. It's because if you go back to my album AU, right, years ago, there's a lot of like I'm rapping crazy on AU. Like I'm rapping crazy. There's a lot of crazy bars and a lot of crazy there's a lot of technicality in AU, right? One of the evolutions that I went through as a writer was I wanted to learn how to still be technical that like to satisfy my technical itch, but like not be so wordy. I wanted to be less wordy, but still equally technical, right?
Yeah.
That's when I learned to play with space different. That's when I learned to play with my voice different. You know, when I was younger, I rapped to more of my older stuff is up tempo stuff, and when it's up tempo, that forced me to rap in a higher pitch, right? So I didn't get to use like I have a cool rap voice, but I didn't get to use my cool rap voice because I was rapping at a pitch that didn't allow for it to be used, you know, or rapping at a speed that it wouldn't allow for it to be used. So if you look, one of the evolutions of my shit is that over the years my music has gotten slower, and part of the getting slower of it is, yeah, but now I get to use my voice like this. You know what I'm saying? And I couldn't do that before. There's also space that I got to play with. So like, I don't expect, going back to Rakim, I don't expect people to catch everything I'm doing because everything I'm doing isn't even in the rhyme. You know what I'm saying? Like, some of it is in the space, some of it is in, you know what I mean? And like Rakim was doing shit like that, where like, you're not catching everything he does because not everything is in the words. You know what I'm saying? Like with G-Rap, there's the words. It's the actual words that's what's being crazy, right? Rakim was doing some whole other shit, man. So like it's real hard to copy that style.
So K, to like, we're talking about the difference between copying and template, right? There's artists very influenced by G-Rap that are very different people, right? 50 Cent and Big Pun, both playing really influenced by G-Rap, right? But those two don't sound like each other, and really don't sound a lot like G-Rap, right?
Yeah, it's true.
So what happened is Pun took from G-Rap in terms of hyper technical street shit. It's going to be technical, it's going to be dazzling, but it's going to be hardcore, right? What 50 took was the outrageousness, right? Now, G-Rap has a song, one of the most offensive songs I've ever heard in my life, called Hey Mr. Mister. Just about threatening to beat up someone who is looking at him too hard while he's beating up his significant other publicly, right? That's G-Rap. G-Rap can do that song. I've heard it a lot in my life, and I don't even know why. Most of the time, I would like never come back to it. G-Rap can go as dark and offensive as he wants to, and it works. And 50 wanted some of that, right? But both of those MCs added their humor to it, right? And pop sensibilities. And so they took it as a template and they added to it. It's not a template if that's all you're using, right? Like all these dudes that copied Drake, they just copied Drake. Like they didn't add anything to it.
So it's your interpretation of the template in a lot of ways.
You got to add your spices to that or you're copied, you know? Yeah. That's my thought.
I would agree with that. You do. I mean, you know, Loops 2 was where I really landed on the style of the Midaz that you have right now. Like, I always had the idea for the style. I just had to go through the rigor to figure out how to do it. I didn't know how to do it. You know what I mean? I knew what I wanted it to sound like. I had it in my head, but I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to get there. You know, I didn't know what to do. And, you know, I have a couple of main influences to the way I write. And I think at different points, if you were to go back to when I really put out the first music that I ever recorded to now, like in different parts, I probably sounded like all those different guys. Like kind of obviously sounded like those guys. You know what I mean? Like when I was a kid, I was a big Cannabis fan. All my raps back then was the hella metaphors and hella you know, like in that energy. And then coming out of that, I found an appreciation for the jizza. And then I got real like proclamative. Like I just was real on that kick, right? But the cool thing is, through each one of these kicks that I went through, I didn't forget the previous kick. So when I went on my jizza kick, I still had remnants of my cannabis kick.
Yeah.
So now I'm cannabis and jizza. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I always thought that Method Man had the coolest voice and delivery. So I always wanted to sound like a mixture. Like the perfect rapper to me in my head sounded like somewhere between Nas and Method Man. Like that's what they sounded like. Like if you could take Nas and Method Man and grown up Shaheem and mix them in like a gumbo, you would have the voice that I was like, yeah, that's the ill rap voice right there, right? And I always liked Nas's how visual Nas made everything, right?
Yep.
So like, okay, then I started to steal a little bit from that. Like, okay, I gotta play in that sandbox while trying to sound like Method Man. Like, yo, what if I could take the Nas visual but sound like Meth doing it? Like that would be crazy, right? Like it was them type of shit. And then when I heard Doom, it was a rap. Like I was like, oh shit, like okay, this is some whole other shit right here. You know what I mean? And my Doom, but then I'm taking the Doom and I'm adding it to that gumbo of other shit, right? And the last of the Mohicans for me, like the last of my rap superheroes, like my favorite MC all time is Raekwon. Ray, but it's funny. Ray became my favorite MC in that 2000, in that Vatican era, right before Cuban Links 2 came out.
Yeah.
It was something about the way he was rhyming in that 2005, 2006 era, where he similarly, because I stole it right from him, he slowed everything down. Like, remember the Ray in the 90s was hyper.
Yep.
Right? And then by the time you get Cuban Links 2, he's way more measured. He don't rhyme hyper no more. And I kind of took from that, like, oh shit, like that's the maturation process. Because even Nas, if you go back to 90s Nas and then like everything that you've got from Nas in the last 15 years, there's a maturity to his delivery. There's a maturity to his vocals. He sounds like the Godfather now instead of sounding like a hype ass kid. You know what I'm saying? And so I bit all of those and put them in a gumbo, and that's where you get how I'm rhyming on the Devil's Playground. So like I totally get the to take a leg from this motherfucker, because what you really trying to do, bro, is you trying to create Frankenstein's monster. You know what I'm saying? Like you're trying to take a leg here, an arm there, a finger here, and like put it into the package that's your own package. So now, only now, and I would say from Loops 2 on, that's now there's a Midas style. Before that, it wasn't no Midas style. It was just I was just rhyming. I was rhyming crazy, but I didn't have a style. Like now there's a style. Now you could theoretically hear somebody and be like, oh damn, he sounds like Midas, because Midas has a style now.
Right.
But
no, I hear you.
You had to get there. So like that's why I think Rakim is a template that it's real hard. It's real hard to copy that.
Yeah. I hear you. Okay, what do you have for any? Do you have any nominees?
Templates? No. I mean, I'm just listening on this one, like, because I don't know. I mean, I didn't get into hip hop until probably like early 2000s.
So let me do some later ones then.
Yeah,
I got later ones too. Like I'm not stuck in the 80s here. So I'll put two on the board and explain why. Right. One is Lex Luger. Lex Luger is a template, right?
Okay.
If you listen to what is that holy trinity, right? Hard in the Paint, BMF, Ham, right? Like what Lex Luger taught everyone was that if this trap shit was gonna survive, you were gonna have to soak every bit of the track with the intensity needed, right? There's gonna be no subtle shit. Subtle shit is not gonna work here. We're going hard as possible, right? We're gonna fill your vehicle with this sound. And that's what Lex Luger did. Lex Luger gave you the Baconator of every beat that he gave. Right? So that became the template. And like, I know Mike Will Made It gets a lot of credit for that. Mike Will Made It, if you listen to that album with that interview with Combat Jack, you get the vibe. He became him because Luger was Luger. And they were in a head-to-head race. So I give a lot of credit to Luger on this, setting that template. The other one I'll put on the board here, second one, is Trina. I think Trina, Trina set a template because she had the best balance of sexuality and rapping in presentation, form, and delivery, right? Like, it kind of, him and Foxy went through real awkward points with it. Like, it wasn't that synergistic, but there was something about Trina's verse on Man, African American Gentleman, right? That set her up perfectly, and she ran with it. She just knew what she was going to do, and from that, through Fuckboy, through anything she's done, Trina is Trina, and no one's ever having that conversation of like, can you really respect her with as sexy as she's been in it was all one package. And that's, I feel like a lot of the people that people say are influenced by Kim are actually influenced by Trina.
Interesting. Do you think Trina was influenced by Kim?
That's a good question. She would have had to be, right? Like, the time frames, because Trina doesn't pop till like the late 90s, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think where Kim's influence was not in the raps,
right?
Kim's almost at all. You know, nobody was trying to rhyme like Kim. I mean, and Kim wasn't even writing most of that stuff, right? So like, you weren't really trying to rhyme like Kim. If you was trying to rhyme like Kim, you was trying to rhyme like Big.
Right. Fair.
But what it was with Kim was, it was the flavor. It was the sass.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And Kim was sassy, and Kim was nasty. You know, like when I heard hardcore, I was like, oh, she's out here. Like, you couldn't play hardcore around nobody, bro. Like, that shit was nasty as shit. If you ain't sucking no dick, we don't want it. We don't want it. I was like, whoa.
But it was also like really pop friendly and really colorful. No Time, Crush on You. I mean, those are earwig songs. The only thing I would ask Trina about, I would love to ask Trina how Salt and Pepper influenced her as well. Because I just feel like Salt and Pepper were so big in my childhood, which was really her childhood, that had to be a part of her makeup as well.
Yeah, I think that could have been a person there. I mean, or a group that was seminal to her. I mean, I think when you get Salt and Pepper, first of all, there's really no other female. I mean, obviously there's Queen Latifah and there's MC Light, and but like, it's Salt and Pepper, bro. There's no female rap without Salt and Pepper. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't know me personally, I ain't know nobody that was running around bumping no Queen Latifah. You know what I'm saying? But Salt and Pepper was getting bumped. You know what I'm saying? Like, Salt motherfuckers ran with Salt and Pepper. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
Like
right.
Pepper was some shit. So I can totally see that. And you know, again, I think a lot of it goes back to just presentation. Like Salt and Pepper they was street girls, man. They was girls from the hood. You know what I mean?
Yep,
Like,
yep.
you know, Salt and Pepper to me set the template for Mary J. Blige. Like you don't get Mary J. Blige without Salt and Pepper. You know,
That's the unique place that they held, right? Is that Salt and Pepper could kick it with En Vogue and Queen Latifah.
right,
And they were in both worlds, right?
right, and all the niggas like Salt and Pepper was and see that's the ill thing about Mary. Like Mary J. Blige is the shorty that was the one shorty that was with all the homies at the crib. You know, like when all the homies got to the crib and was drinking and smoking, there was eight dudes and Mary. and they treated Mary like one of the niggas. You know what I'm saying? Like that was the energy that Mary had coming out. That's what made 411 such a wild record, is because dudes like 411 like women did.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like that was a hip hop record.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and
Yep.
I think Mary got a lot of that swag off of Salt and Pepper.
100%. That had to be the case.
Because she was still feminine too. Like that's the thing. She was one of the guys, but she wasn't a guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like
she wasn't. Yeah, and that was hard. It was like
remember Boss? Remember Boss?
Yeah.
Like Boss was a dude. Like
Well,
Boss was with the dudes too, but that's because Boss was like a dude.
Or the one that's early on that we were talking about, like MC Light, right? MC Light in the early presentation was very much like straightforward tone, like I am rapping, I am not here to be, there was just no goofiness allowed, because she was like, you need to take me serious, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think from MC Light, you get like Bahamadia, you get that kind of that like straightforward, no bullshit rhapsody, right? It all flows through that. And that's a lane that's in opposition to the Salt and Pepper Kim lane, Trina lane.
Yep.
Yeah, like City Girls, you can feel Trina's presence.
Oh, 100%.
Situation, right?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
So, do you have any? Put somebody else on the board, Midas. What are we doing?
Well, I think Redman is interesting because because again, like I was saying, you don't get Ludacris without Redman. But I think Redman is such an anomaly in rap to me. You know, like this is a multi-platinum rapper. Like, I mean, people forget, if you weren't around in the 90s, like
right.
He was big. Redman was famous. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't some underground motherfucker. This was
right.
He's famous. He's a fucking multi-platinum artist. And Redman was always creative, always not serious.
Yeah.
And like one of the wild things about Redman that just kind of blows my mind when I really think about it is like I cannot think of a serious Redman song. Like even the serious Redman records are not that serious. And when I say serious, I mean like you ain't never heard Redman be like, "Hey yo, my mom died and then my heart cried." Like, nah, he's just not doing that. Like Redman.
No, we did Dare Is a Dark Side. Like we did that album here because I was talking about how much I love these kind of dark albums, discography, but like they're still jokes. It's just it feels like your friend's in a really shitty place, but still telling you a joke.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like again, even when he was serious, like even when he's rhyming hard, because he has joints where he's rhyming hard, it's still got a tinge of playfulness. Redman was always playful. He's always you know, and as time went on, that part grew in him. Like you got less there as a dark side and more jokes and more, you know, playfulness as the albums subsequently came. By the time you get to, you know, Doc's the Name and all that shit and Red Gone Wild, like he's just jokes. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And
Right.
and
Yeah.
I always thought it was ill that like we had a so like all right, when you think about Old Dirty Bastard, like Old Dirty Bastard was serious as fuck.
Yep. That's
Like
true.
Old Dirty Bastard wasn't telling no fucking jokes.
Right. That's fair.
He wasn't joking. He just happened to be so absurd that you thought it was funny. But he didn't think it was funny. He was serious as fuck.
That's a great point. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But like Red's out here having fun.
Right.
Red's a rapper. Red's a rapper. Red wasn't no gangster. Red's rapping, bro. He's having fun with it and he's being ill with it. So like I always thought that was an ill template because the idea of rappers just being good rappers, but also just kind of being fun is kind of a thing. So like when I hear Luda, I hear so much Redman in Luda. Like I hear the big ideas, like the big fists in the video, and like the video concepts, and then just like some of just the way to, but like Redman, Luda could bar you up, and but even in barring you up, it still had a tinge of like, you know, it's different than when you heard Cannabis bar you up. You're like he's trying to kill you. You know,
Right.
like Red's joking. He's not really gonna kill you. You know what I'm saying? But that's kind of the energy off of Redman. So I think that's a template. There's off the top of my head, I can't think of a whole bunch of people who have used the template, but the template's sitting there to be used.
I mean, it's let me give you. I mean, the Eminem's first album.
Oh, M. I totally forgot M for sure.
Eminem's first album, Infinite. Sure. He sounds like Prodigy, and turns out nobody wanted a white Prodigy. So that didn't work. And he was like, no, I'm much more Redman. Like, and that blew
there you go.
Yeah.
Where he evolved it though, and here's what's funny: it's an evolution to a certain extent. Is that M would get personal? Like Red never really gave you anything personal. You know, M would go personal, but where he still stayed in line is that even in being personal, it was jokes. Like it was kind of serious jokes. It was kind of fucked up jokes. But like, you know, like you never really thought he was gonna go kill Kim. You know what I'm saying? You never really thought he was gonna like you thought he hated his mom just because of how much he talked about he hated his mom. But like you didn't, you know what I mean? Like you could be like, he's also just playing a fucking character here.
Right.
Is what you could have took away from it. So yeah, definitely M2, 100%, 100%.
No, it's and K, it was interesting. I saw online, right? I saw this post online. It was very true, but it still made me a little grumpy because he said, "Do you know how many Tupac alikes there are running around on?" And I was like, "Yeah, but Tupac comes from Scarface."
Well, the version of Tupac that we all loved in the last 3 or 4 years of Tupac is definitely off of Scarface.
Scarface shit, and like so
earlier Pac was different. Like getting out of jail Pac was a different motherfucker than the Pac before that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Me Against the World on like that.
Right.
That Pac is very Scarface, and it's Scarface. What Scarface gave as a template was just kind of infinite darkness and nihilism, right? That felt mentally unbalanced, right? Scarface might have been the first rapper you listened to where you were like, is he okay?
Yeah.
Why is he in a four-cornered room with candles? Is he all right? And they leaned into that, like, and he leaned into that. He was able to express the full darkness of his mood. Like, you know, Seen a Man Cry versus Crossroads. Crossroads is a sad song. Seen a Man Die is a chilling song. That shit.
Yeah. Well, fucking Mind Playing Tricks on Me is a chilling song, man. That song is chilling as shit. I actually listened to Mind Playing Tricks on Me the other day. It came up in my shuffle when I was driving, and I'm like, this is the craziest song ever. Like, Mind Playing Tricks low key is the wildest hip hop song like ever. Like, first of all, it's wild in structure. There's 3 Scarface verses.
Yeah.
And then you get another. There's 4 verses on it, and 3 of them is from Scarface.
Yep.
Like, first of all, just in structure, that's wild to me. Like, and I forgot that. So I'm listening to the car, and I'm like, all right, Scarface. Then Scarface again? Fuck, Scarface again? God damn, like, ain't this a group? Like, what the fuck is going on with this shit? Like, that's already wild. But then, like, just the imagery in that fucking song was so crazy, bro.
If you grew up in a certain period, you'll never forget Bushwick Bill punching the concrete.
Yep.
And just like having the delusion that he's fighting someone.
Yep.
And like
Yep.
that was not a thing. No, Run from Run DMC was not punching concrete and having illusions. Like that wasn't a thing.
Well, so, I think you get Tupac from, I think pre Me Against the World, Tupac was off of Ice Cube.
Okay.
And then I think you get post, there's a lot of Scarface in the post.
That makes sense.
Because Ice Cube was really, Ice Cube's a template in itself,
Yep.
Ice Cube was really that. Ice Cube was gangster militant. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Ice Cube was pro-black gangster militant. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But the gangster part was that he was pro-black, but he was of the hood. Like, he wasn't trying to be like I always felt like Chuck D. I always felt like you would never run into a nigga like Chuck D on the block. Not for real. Like, I didn't know you wouldn't know nobody like Chuck D, right? In my head. But like, you wouldn't know a kid like Ice Cube. Like, that's just a kid in third period, bro. But he's just lit. But he's lit. Right. You know what I'm saying?
I had this thing in my head. I don't know who I can tell this to because I don't have many people who would care about this take. But in my mind, NWA versus Public Enemy is Christianity versus Judaism in weird ways. Like, so that Judaism is there's a ton of wisdom in it, but it's no fucking fun at all. It's not. The holidays are full of food that isn't good on purpose, so you can feel the pain of your ancestors. You're remembering dead people constantly. But you need it. It's like, Chuck D's the first rapper I ever heard warn me about alcoholism.
Yeah. Like Chuck D always seemed older than he was to me. Like, and that's what I mean by like you wouldn't see him on the block because he was not a kid ever.
No, he was grown up. Like, and
Chuck D was 45 all the time. His whole life.
Yep. NWA had fun built into it. So yeah, they were giving you "Fuck the Police" and all that, but they were goofing, and "Automobile's" a funny ass song, and like they've got all kinds of shit like that. So it's Ice Cube. I think what Ice Cube taught people, Ice Cube taught people the art of the first song. That if people fuck with you, everybody fucking with you, burn them to the fucking ground and do it on the first song. Fuck them.
Love that. I love that. Yeah, I definitely think. And then, of course, if you go on, so what we're tracing here is we've gotten you back to Ice Cube, but like, once you get like Tupac is one of those guys that's like Raekwon, where all right, we traced it back to G-Rap, but once you get to Raekwon, the tree splinters because there's motherfuckers that come after Ray, and they came up on Ray. So you get to Tupac, and then of course there's motherfuckers that come up on Tupac, and then Tupac spawns a whole generation of different guys. I'd like to submit Rock Marciano.
Gotta love it. Yeah, I don't see any disagreement on that.
Yeah. I mean, God, I mean, by the time this ends, Rock is gonna be one of the most influential rappers of all time.
All time. All
Like,
time.
you know, because what Rock did, because I feel Rock is a I feel Rock is a kindred. He's a little bit of a kindred spirit to me. I'm gonna tell you why. Because I feel like we have similar. I've heard Rock say who his influences are.
Yep.
I hear that, but I would contend there's a lot of Doom and there's a lot of Raekwon and it's like a mismatch of those guys. It's like the flyness of Ray and the fly talk of Ray mixed with the poetry of Doom. You know what I'm saying? And the visual poetry of Doom. I think that's how you get a Marcy. And what Marcy was able to take from there and create on his own is he took that fly imagery to a whole nother level. Like that, and I'm gonna tell you, from somebody who has had a few different conversations with Rock Marciano, ain't nobody cooler than that motherfucker. That's the coolest motherfucker you will ever meet in your entire life. It's real. That the cool factor on that nigga, his cool factor, real talk, he's almost too cool. But the wild shit about it is that it's legit. It's not an act. Like, but he's so cool that you're like
inner coolness. Like it is like it's almost like wellness to the extreme.
Yeah. Like anything that you tell me about Rock Marcy that lends itself to like some cool shit, I would just believe you. Like, I don't need you don't have to sell me shit. I'm gonna be like, you could tell me like, yo, you heard Rock Marcy don't never wear socks twice? I'll be like, I believe you.
I believe it.
Like, I would just be like, word. You know what I'm saying? Like, you'd be like, yo, you ever heard Rock Marcy his socks ain't never dirty. Like, he could walk in the house and like this with no shoes on, socks just stay white. I'll be like, yeah, no doubt.
For years, I've said to Kay and everybody else that I think there's only one person in the world that Rock Marciano competes with. I can't wrap my head around Rock Marciano listening to a new Conway album and going, oh no, I've got to change everything. Like I can't. There's only one person, and it's Ka. It's Ka. I think Ka and Rock, they built it, and it's theirs. And it's the pimp and the priest in a way.
Yeah. Yo, you said it. There's Rock. Whether this is what's been interesting about Rock, man. I've been wanting to talk about this for a minute, so I'm glad we're talking about it. Rock is in my opinion, from what I'm seeing on Twitter, and we become like a prisoner of our own timelines and shit. So
sure.
Whatever. But like, Rock is the most like respected, disrespected guy of all time. Like, on one hand, everybody acknowledges like, hey, this is the guy who like brought this whole sound back, right? On the other hand, mugs be like disrespecting Rock. They be like, yo, man, like Rock's boring, Rock's this, Rock's that. And I'm just like, what's so wild to me about it is like, Rock's cool factor does not allow him to give a fuck about any of that shit.
Yeah. He exists on a different level. Yeah.
Like Rock could give two shits about what a motherfucker on Twitter said about anything. You know what I'm saying? Like he's buying Egyptian cloths. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't give a fuck. Like that's always the energy off of Rock. But I feel like to your point, I don't even be feeling like, and again, like this is where I call Rock the last superhero. Yeah. And the reason why I call him the last superhero, when I was a coming up MC, like when I was a kid, bro, rappers were superheroes to me. You know what I'm saying? Like Ice Cube's a superhero, Tupac is a superhero, Wu-Tang, they're superheroes. Like these guys were mystic and legends, and like we didn't know, like they just was different, bro. Like they wasn't from Earth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's how you felt. The last of those people to me is Rock. Like
Ooh,
Rock,
okay.
Rock is the last of like yo, where are you from, bro? Like, why, you know, like what's the science behind? Because I don't feel like Rock, like again, going back to what I was just saying, I feel like you could tell me anything about Rock if that's in a universe of cool, and I would at least have to consider that it might be legit. Like if you told me, going back to your point, yo, Rock he don't listen to no rappers. I'd be like, yeah, he probably don't listen to no album. Like,
No, yeah.
I would not be shocked. You know what I'm saying? If, you know, I was telling somebody the other day, I'm like, yo, you know what's ill about Rock? Rock's one of the most phenomenal lyric writers of all time. Like he's phenomenal at putting words together. Like, and that's why I say the kids that bit off the Rock tree, they only bit the style, but what Rock, it's style and his function. But these guys can't bite the function. Like his pen is too crazy. Like his pen's crazy. Like dudes they're not able to bite what he's doing on the mic. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But what's so crazy about that to me is as ill a rhymer that Rock Mars is, he rhymes like he don't want to rap.
Yeah, that's fair.
He raps like rapping is beneath him. Like, you know, I guess I gotta fucking do this album and shit. Like,
yeah, that's fair.
It just seems like an annoyance to him. Like, and the proof that I was telling my man is like, you'll never see Rock Marciano freestyles. You don't see Rock going on no radio shows and shit. Like, I could just see him looking at this shit as a waste of his time. And like, I'm just too cool for this, bro. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like,
no, I hear you.
You want me, like, I could totally see him being like, he could be getting interviewed and they'd be like, yo, pick that verse. I could totally see him being like, you want me to rap? Like, I didn't come here to rap, bro. Like,
right. What is this? Yeah, no.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you don't make him do tricks. You don't, that's not what.
Nah, bro. Like you heard the album? Like, do that.
You got that. No.
Yeah, you got that, bro. You know what I'm saying? But he's just cut from that cloth. But I feel like he came off of a couple different cloths, a couple templates. But then he's one that's created a template that. But what I'm afraid of with the template he created is his template is people are only biting one side of the template, and they're not biting the skill side of the template.
Well, here's how I would put it, right? And I think to build on your point, what Rock Marciano gave the market is absolute confidence, right? Hey, I remember I was there, Kay, when he said, album's done and I'll give it to you, but only through my website. It'll be $40 right now, but it's going to be $40 on release date, and I'm not putting it anywhere else until I'm ready to.
Right.
So you get it first. I was like, this is the most incredible thing I've ever seen.
It's ridiculous. It's unbelievable.
I bought it immediately. I had for Pitchfork. Like, I had the album before, like, all these important people. Rock Marciano has an album out, but I can't listen to it. Well, I already got it. Like, that was crazy, but that was the confidence you had to have in yourself to change the marketplace. And so the problem now is bummy rappers that love Rock's confidence are putting their stuff up.
That's it.
Dollars on their website, but they didn't earn that $40.
They didn't. Rock sold digital for $50. I said, you're really out here, bro.
Yeah.
Rock sold motherfuckers a zip file.
Right.
And it goes back to that. If you mess with it, you mess with it. If you don't, you don't.
No, and I bought it.
I don't care.
Right.
Like,
and I remember thinking, I'm so glad I did. Like, I never regretted it a day in my life. Absolute confidence, but if you have absolute confidence without the craft, you're going off the cliff.
And he's got the craft. I just feel like dudes, it's like you can bite all the fly talk, bro, but you gotta get some of that pen too. Like, honestly, I'll add West and Conway
Sure,
to
sure.
that too, because like dudes be trying to rap like Conway and they don't rap like Conway. Like,
Oh, they don't.
you do realize he's really good at rapping, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's not just out here saying fucking brand names. Like,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, it's not all ad libs. It's not. Yeah. So
because they only see the final product. Most people, they don't see the work that was done
man,
to get to that point. They just see the album come out. That's the final product, but no one actually sees. And Rock's done a good job. Like the greats, they do a great job hiding their work. They're not telling you how hard they're working, the things that they've done to get to the level they can. They just show you the final product.
Yeah, super fast.
I gotta throw some West Coast stuff in here before we transition to recommendation corner. My final two nominees, K, are DJ Quick and Rick Rock.
Rick Rock.
DJ Quick and Rick Rock. I think when people think about we talked about replicatable templates, right? I've always told you I think three people erected the West Coast sound, right? And it was Muggs and Quick and Dre. But the thing is, Dre doesn't have a replicatable sound. Like Dre's sound is very clean and kind of sterile at times, and it doesn't always sell like that. When you hear an album, you remember a few years ago, My Crazy Life by YG popped, right? This is the West Coast shit. What made us remember Quick, and it made us remember Rick Rock, and like that's the sounds, that kind of Troutman funk that was. There's a great episode, K, coming out on Crate 808 that analyzes Quick. And Cam said that at one point, Quick was so deep in his production bag that he was like Prince. He was like, he had his live, guitarist. He had all these live elements that he was mixing into it. His grooves got more and more ornate. Like that sound that you can kind of hear it immediately when you hear a West Coast record that was influenced by Quick. You're like, oh shit, here it is. And Rick Rock just had those big slappers, man. The big, crazy West Coast slappers that like I don't think he gets enough credit, and he gets borrowed from a lot. Swing for the fences with your West Coast record, and you can get on the charts. And a lot of people do that. Yeah.
I would honestly. I mean, you summed that up really well. Like I would co-sign all of that. Like, yeah, Quick, bro. Quick ain't nothing to fuck with, bro. Like, and there, a lot of like, to me, like when I first heard Dom Kennedy, I was like, oh, like this is going back to that Quick energy. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I hear Larry June, I'm like, all right, this is going back to that Quick energy. You know what I'm saying? Of the West Coast and shit, and Jay Worthy and shit. Like they really make me feel like that Quick energy. So I could totally see that.
Yeah, I mean it was slower and it was ornate, and there was all this. It was really anti boom bap, right? It was like boom bap was say like. It was very direct, but it was very jazz influenced, right? So there was like stabs of instrumentation, but it was the thump was the main character. And the West Coast sound, that Quick sound, took that out and had like layers of stuff happening that really just you felt like you were on the ride. So that's really. Anybody else have any more? We're gonna go to recommendation.
No,
I'm good.
All right, man. So I just came back from Cali. K, I was overwhelmed. I got a chance to go to Amoeba Music in LA.
Shout out Amoeba Music.
Holy shit. I'm from Maine. I've spent my whole life complaining about the record store Like this reggae section sucks, all this kind of stuff. I go there and their reggae section's bigger than our rock section. I'm like, holy shit. And I was like, my first thought was, holy shit, I can't buy everything because I won't be able to pack it on the way home. Right? I gotta control myself. And B, I got a son, I got a wife. They don't want to be here all fucking day. So I was like, I gotta go hunting for special shit, weird shit that I can't find where I'm at. So I got like a live specials album that's really dope. One of the first ska bands. I got.
Did you know what you were gonna get going into it, or did you have someone recommend you some stuff?
I had some stuff in my head, but
Mhm.
you know, and I got some of that cheap too. I got some Black Alicious for like $4. Because every record store, K, has a certain set of things that everybody in the area already has that are outside. If you're an outsider, they're interesting. And in those record stores, I went to a few of them. Blue and Black Alicious were everywhere.
Mm.
So that was, you were able to get those easy. So I copped up on those, but I got I got a Stylistics box set that's an import that has like 55 songs. It's killer. But I got 1K that really has my wife freaked out. It's great.
Oh no! All right, let's hear this one.
I got to shout out Nico is the good, love Nico is, reviewed him from way back in the day. Midas beat him in a battle. I'm on Instagram. I see this stuff. So but yeah, when Nico is did an interview, like a written interview with me, I asked him for like the Brazilian like album top 5 cheat code. Like give me some shit. And he gave me Caetano Veloso's Trança. And that's an awesome album, and I've been living with it. So I went to the Brazilian section and I got the self-titled 70s joint.
Oh shit!
Look at that cover.
Yeah, he's nothing to mess with. Caetano Veloso is dope. And I put on the song, the first song, A Little More Blue, and my wife was like, "Shut this off." She started flapping her arms. It's great.
Oh, like it was fire. It was heat.
Yes.
Okay,
She
okay.
has strong reactions to music, and it's textures, right? So she doesn't hate the writing or the performing. There's something about the texture of it that is like, get it away, right? And sometimes I'm like, that means this artist is special. So she said the dissonance makes my skin crawl.
Ooh, like that.
Yeah. No, it's a dope album. 7 songs, 2 of them over 6 minutes long. Just has a weird way with words and ideas. In the hot sun of a Christmas day. Just real odd hooks, kind of in that 70s singer-songwriter thing, but the Brazilian version of that. I love Caetano Veloso, and I'm gonna start hitting the 70s stuff, in different pockets. So yeah, that's my recommendation at this juncture. Do I have anything that I was listening to? Because I was bumping Devil's Playground on a Concord bus from Boston to Maine. It was perfect place to check it out.
Yeah. It's a quick 30 minutes. Hop in and hop out.
Oh shit. Kay, did you hear I got shouted out on a rap song?
No.
Iceberg Theory, dude. Sunday Funnies Gangsta Edition with Blood Blixing. There's a song called Richard Mill, G-Shock.
Like Washes. Oh shit, you really made it now, man.
It was wild. It was like, it's really out of nowhere and shit. It just came out of nowhere at the end of the song where he's like, shout out to Dano up in Maine. And I was like, oh shit, that's awesome. So getting love for all over the place. It appreciated. And it's a I like the project too. It's good times. It's less. Iceberg is very theoretical and very spiritual and very dense. This is a fun album where he's just rapping his face off. So I like that. It's fun. Yeah, check that out. Yeah, those are my recommendations. Midas, what have you been bumping? What have you been listening to?
Oh man. I don't know, man. It's weird. I really, as crazy as it sounds, I really don't listen to a lot of music anymore. Um, when I'm in the car, I'm listening to podcasts most of the time. So podcast listening has truly cut into my music listening a lot, which I kind of like because I like the whole energy of like the only time I'm really in music mode is when I walk in this room.
Right.
And when I'm not in this room, I'm really not in music mode.
You're living. Yeah, I like
I'm just
that.
living. And then I walk in here and I'm like, you know what I'm saying? And it's been cool because it's also allowed me to not be so influenced by anything that I'm hearing because I'm not really hearing a whole lot. Now, that being said, just lately, let me look. Because there's a couple things that I've been listening to this Ito album. That Poets joint with Future Wave.
Yeah.
Ito's crazy with the pen. He's really one of the dudes that I really respect a lot as far as just his writing technique and like Ito's real crazy. So I've been listening to that album a lot. I'll let you in on what this is what we'll do. I'll let you in on what is at the top of the listen again section on my YouTube music.
Do it. Let me know.
That's everything that I've been listening to lately.
Yeah, do it.
So I was listening to Nas's Lost Tapes 2.
Oh wow.
I feel like that record gets disrespected.
It definitely.
I think people really don't like that record. And I'm like, I mean, like it's a compilation of random songs. So it's not like an album. Like I don't listen to it thinking I'm gonna get an album experience. Yeah. But like he's rapping his fucking ass off on that shit. He's going crazy. Like it's insane. So there's some crazy raps on there. The Alchemist beat's crazy. The fucking Pete Rock shit is crazy. I like both of the RZA songs.
I think that album, not Lost Tapes 2, was where people finally let go of the old Nas and they were like, this Nas swishes his wine around and sniffs it,
Yeah.
And like they had to come face to face with that shit. Like, this is a tech billionaire, bro. This ain't,
Yeah, that's not the same. It's not the same guy for sure.
There was a lot
He's
of
not Escobar.
Yeah.
It's not Escobar. So I had that in there. I got the Etho in there. I was listening to Only Built for Infinity Links from our guys Quavo and Takeoff.
Oh wow. Yeah.
I was on that real heavy for a little bit. And then I got RZA as Bobby Digital Bullet.
Oh, the new stuff. Yeah.
No, the second one, the second Bobby Digital.
Okay, the second one. Yeah.
Got the second Bobby Digital in here, and then I was listening to Rock Marcy Rosebud's Revenge recently, which I think Rosebud's Revenge gets slept on in the catalog. That's a crazy record. And then the other day I had the last two. The other day I had People Make the World Go Around on a Wild Loop by the Stylistics.
Yeah.
And Jay-Z's So Ghetto on a Wild Loop. Like by Wild Loop, I mean like I might have heard So Ghetto like 80 times in a row that day. Like,
woo!
Like So Ghetto is such a bananas rap song. Like it's out of control. But all that being said, what I'd like to throw into the atmosphere as a recommendation, that's just what I've been listening to. But as a recommendation would be Arthur Verkai. Arthur Verkai's Arthur Verkai. Self-titled album.
How you spell Veracai?
Verocai.
Okay.
It's Arthur Verkai's Arthur Verkai is one of the records that I would take with me on a island if I could only bring 5 records with me. I think it's a perfect record. And I reference it a lot. I go back to it a lot. It's been sampled a bunch of times and by different artists. Doom is really, Doom sampled Arthur a few different times. My man, I Make Mad Beats is who put me on. He put me on because we were sampling it for a record that we were doing, and excuse me, the sample was so crazy that I was like, I need to, like, what is this? And when I hear Arthur's album, what's so crazy is it's all in Portuguese. Like, I don't know nothing what he's saying. It's that ill. It's that ill. I don't care what he's saying. Like,
yes, I'm with you.
It's the illest music for my taste and my sensibilities that exists. So I would recommend Arthur Verkai's Arthur Verkai, which is an ill recommendation because younger me would not recommend that because I wouldn't want nobody to get their hands on those samples.
Right.
1972.
Yeah, but at this point, motherfuckers know about it, so it's not. I'm not breaking no ground. But I don't know if people. Yeah, it's good for sample fodder, but I don't think people appreciate it for what it is. Like, it is amazing in itself. Like, you don't have to sample it. You need to.
No, yeah, it's released the year after the year after the Caetano Veloso, like, album that I just recommended. Like, that era, that 70s era just had so much developing in so many different places.
Yeah.
It was beautiful, and I'm just, the 70s were so much to tackle to learn just what was going on in the US, and then when you start reaching out, you're like, oh shit, all this stuff influences stuff I love. Everybody was hearing it. It's really cool to get more of the picture,
Yeah.
of what's going on.
Yeah, and what's dope is, like, Dele is an extension of these producers, like, of those guys. He's not an extension of DJ Premier. He's an extension of Arthur Verkai. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
That's what's really ill. It's like he's from the same grains. He's from the source material. So, that's the energy he's coming with. He's producing with the sensibility that these guys have.
Yeah, man. No, Kay, one last thing before we go. Do you have any recommendation, Kay? Do you have anything?
I mean, I'm really digging into the LIVE album,
Ooh,
Girl and a Half Girl.
Girl, yeah.
I mean, it's very, like, it's challenging. So
I love it.
I think it's a good listen. It's a challenging listen, which is something that you don't really have too often nowadays.
I love it. I think it's great. I would so going to family events. This was one of the first family events where everybody was like hype about what I do. Oh man, you got this podcast now? That's cool. I was like, man, this Premium Empire has been around since 2011.
Wait till you play him the song, man.
It was, yeah. I didn't play him the song. I'm not. Wasn't trying to be corny and build on it, but like one guy was really interesting. He was like, "Hey man, like you're interviewing this like these rappers. Like, what is the common thread that all of these successful rappers have? Like, what would you point to?" I was like, "Damn, this is like a 2020 question. This is like a good ass." Like, I never met this dude. What I settled on, Kay, was that all of the successful people we've talked to have been brutally embarrassed at some point in their artistic life.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They have been discarded. They've lost battles in front of people that were meaningful. They've been tossed aside by their local scene. And when they would have been out,
I've been all those things.
Yeah.
they've patched it together and recreated themselves when 99% of people would walk the fuck away.
Yo, I'm gonna need a clip of you saying that as just an audio file that I can put on some album at some point and refer to on a quasi daily basis.
It's,
It's a bar.
Hey, this nigga's spitting.
I mean, I use Psalm 1 as an example, right? Gets thrown out of rhyme sayers, gets tossed aside, you know, by everybody that was supporting her, you know, works as a teacher, teaching kids how to rap in the cities, the local Chicago area, puts together an album of those kids rapping with her that gets her, you know, all this Chicago reader love, and like now back in the scene. So that's like, there's so many, everybody was like that, right? Everyone who talked to was like that. This game will humble you.
Yes.
And the people that I talked to that won, they took that, they ate it, and they kept moving.
I mean, yeah, I think, you know, now that you mentioned, it's the perspective of failure. They don't really see this failure, like, even the way they talk about it, like, yeah, you know, like, I mean, even going back to Midaz, you were talking about before Loops 2, like, you know, Loops 2, like, I really enjoyed it. It wasn't as well renowned as I would have liked, but that was because I was still learning my craft, to learn my shit. And so just the way that people talk about failure, and in terms of the rappers and producers we've talked to, the way that they see and their perspective towards failure is a lot different than a lot of other people, most people's perspective towards it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I would agree with that. With that. For me, it was I mean, it was literally a technical limitation. Like, I literally didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like, so I did what I could. And what's ill is, honestly, like, but there's a lot of spirit in that though. So like, if you go back, especially now after Sidewalk and after Devil's Playground, if you go back and listen to Loops 2, you can hear all the spirit in it. Like, there's real spirit there. It's kind of like how when you listen to some of these artists and like everything has gotten better, but maybe they've lost a little bit of spirit.
Yeah.
So like, you think about like Nas, for example, right? Like, there's Illmatic and then there's It Was Written. By the time It Was Written comes out, he's a better rapper. Like, nobody could tell me he's not a better rapper by the time It Was Written came out. Just technically,
right.
He was better at rapping than he was 5 years earlier than that, or 3 years earlier than that, or whatever the timeline may have been from when he wrote those rhymes to those rhymes. But maybe It Was Written doesn't have the spirit that Illmatic had. You know what I'm saying? And that's because, you know, like, even that's even how I look at like you know, Wu-Tang Forever and 36 Chambers. Like, you know, Wu-Tang Forever, like, RZA is probably a better producer by the time Wu-Tang Forever comes out, and all the rappers in the group were way better rappers by the time it's not even close. Like, they were the leaps and bounds better rappers than they were, you know, 4 years ago. But maybe the spirit isn't the same. You know what I'm saying? In between those two records.
Success in this is success in art is anti-Skip Bayless, right? Like, it's not cut and dry. It's mystical in this weird way, right?
Yeah.
That's why you hear perfect albums from artists that disappear.
Yeah.
What happened? Like, Spirit left.
I mean, real talk, to that extent, like, there could have been a Sidewalk and there could have been nothing else after that. Like, that could have just been it. You know what I'm saying? And that's a concept that I think about all the time, because, you know, I got all these records in here, and you know, like some of these records, the story of these records, like,
Yep.
or even the story that is at least the story in my head of these records. Like, I'm picking up this record because, like, as a person who puts out music, like, you know, you're picking up this record. I'm holding a record. I can grab a record right now, right? And I'll just grab any like random, you know, shit. Like, I don't even know what the fuck this is, right? So this says this right here. This says the Brit. No, excuse me, Tina Britt. I've never heard of Tina Britt. I don't know who the fuck Tina Britt is. I found a new love. You know? And so I'm holding this record right now, this 7-inch of Tina Britt. I ain't never heard of Tina Britt. This could be the only shit Tina Britt ever fucking did.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and like what blows my mind and what actually does allow me to keep creating, even though I'm not world famous and shit, is I don't know what kid in 2072 is gonna be sitting there like, have you heard The Devil's Playground?
Yeah.
By Midaz the Beast? They're gonna be like, yo, like I just happened upon this shit and it's crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like the same way that I might happen upon and to that same extent, like this could have been Tina Britt's like life's work right here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And like nobody really heard it, but then like somebody does hear it. You know what I mean? Like that concept is mind-boggling to me. Like you could be holding like, you know, I don't have any children. And I always tell people like, you know, if I don't ever have children, you know, my music is my legacy. Like that's what I leave behind. So like this could be Tina Britt's legacy. This could be everything to her.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like you got it in your hand. You know what I mean? Like it's amongst all. And I've never even heard this record. I just randomly grabbed one.
Yeah.
But like now I gotta listen to it to see if it's flavorful.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Yeah.
but like, you know, like how many Tina Britts are there? You know, people that put their life savings into creating a record that maybe 300 copies got pressed up and they're spread across the United States and nobody fucking knows about them. Some of them shits is fire. You know what I'm saying? And not only is some of them fire, but some of it is like this person's whole life. You know what I'm saying? And record. So I always think that that's one of the reasons why we do this. You know what I'm saying? Like it just means you put like this is gonna last generations beyond the physical body of the person who made it. Like she's, you know, she may or may not be with us anymore. I don't see what year this is, but years and years and years and years and years later, it is like, yo, you ever thought, I'm about to get real mystical on you, but you ever thought how wild it is that like you could capture somebody's voice on a thing? Like that's like her voice is on this. Like that fucking blows my mind when I really
think about Bobby Caldwell after the light, you know, after Common drops the light, right? And that sample takes over the world and his album sales skyrocket. And he's just like, fuck, you know, that's where life is. Life is
like, you know, like as artists though, like one concept, like as an artist, bro, like I never met my great grandfather on neither side, right? So I don't have no concept of what he. I mean, I'm sure I could see a picture if I wanted to, but a picture is just a still image, right?
Right.
But like, I don't have no concept of what he sounded like, and I won't ever have a concept of what he sounded like. There's no way to do it, right? When he passed away, all tangible evidence of how he talked passed away with him. You know what I'm saying? But not me. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's gonna be evidence of what I sound like and what I communicate like, and for infinity. You know what I mean? Like that's wild to me. Like that's super wild. So like, I have a respect for the creation of music that's just different because, like, just the concept of this black disc has somebody's voice embedded in it. not a digital file. Like their voice is embedded in the disc. Like it's almost like your spirit is in the record. Like it's crazy to me.
We gotta leave it there, Kay. That's
Yeah.
where we leave it.
You're-